Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka 2024. In the first place, let me introduce myself to you. I am Prabhavi Ratnasiri from the Department of Applied Nutrition, Wayamba University of Sri Lanka, and I will be comparing today's event with my colleague Oshadi Meegoda. This time, the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka decided to go by the theme of Towards Health and Wellness with Personalized Nutrition in a Challenging Era for its annual scientific sessions in 2024. We are now about to commence the inauguration ceremony of today's event. Giving priority to traditions, let's start today's session by lighting the oil lamp. For that, I cordially invite the following distinguished guests. The Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Kirti Mohotti, Deputy Director, Research and Acting Additional Director, Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka. The Guest of Honor, Dr. Ananda Kulasurya, Director General, NIBM. The keynote speaker, Professor Anoma Chandrasekara, Department of Applied Nutrition, Wayamba University of Sri Lanka. Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, the President of Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. Professor Narada Varnasurya, past President, former Vice Chancellor, University of Sri Jayawardhanapura. Dr. Upeka Samaravikrama, Consultant Nutrition Physician, DGH, Gampaha, representing all the speakers. Professor Chandrima Vikramaratne, past President. Thank you, everyone. Next, I would like to invite the following distinguished guests and council members of NSSL to the head table. The Honorable Chief Guest, Dr. Kirti Mohotti, Deputy Director Research and Acting Additional Director, Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka. The keynote speaker, Professor Anoma Chandrasekara, Department of Applied Nutrition, Vaimba University of Sri Lanka. Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, the President of Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. Dr. Thamilini Joseph Kumar, Joint Secretary of the NSSL. Mrs. Hasanga Ratnayaka, Joint Secretary of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. Finally, Professor Ananda Chandrasekara, Chairperson of the conference. Now I would like to invite the President of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, to welcome you all to the annual sessions 2024. Over to you, sir.
Good morning, everybody. Chief guest, Dr. Kirti Mohotti, council members, past presidents, guest speakers, invitees, ladies and gentlemen. I am Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, President of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. It's my great pleasure to welcome you all to the annual scientific session 2024. I would like to extend my special welcome to the chief guest, Dr. Kirti Mohotti, Professor Narada Varnasuri and all the other past presidents, keynote speaker Professor Anoma Chandrasekara, Dr. Renuka Jayatissa, and all speakers to the annual scientific session. Annual scientific session is the most significant event in our calendar. This year our theme is Toward the Health and Wellness with Personalized Nutrition in Challenging Era. Nutrition is one of the most important factors in health and wellness. We all need good nutrition plan to stay healthy. Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, which celebrates its 52nd year, promote nutritional science among professionals, students, athletes, and community through various activities. During the last year, our society began various new strategies to promote education, research, community services, and advocacy in Sri Lanka. This annual scientific session is not possible without dedicated team. I am proud about my council and all other members who are dedicated their time for the success of the annual scientific sessions. No event will be success without sponsors. I would like to extend my gratitude to the gold sponsor Fonterra Brands Lanka Limited and other sponsors. Today, we have lined up keynote address, symposia, abstract presentation, poster presentation, and Professor T.W. Vikramanayaka oration at the end of the program. You will receive latest version of knowledge related to the research and practices in nutrition. Thank you very much. Enjoy the day.
Thank you, sir. Now let me have the honor of inviting Dr. Kirti Mohotti, Director Research, Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka, also our chief guest of the occasion, to share a few words with us. Sir, the stage is yours.
morning, ladies and gentlemen. Members in the head table, distinguished guests, friends, ladies and gentlemen again. I stand before you having been the honor of addressing you at this august occasion as the chief guest of the prestigious scientific sessions of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. As the director of the Tea Research Institute, it's a privilege to be part of an event of this nature, not just a meeting, but also a congregation and aspirations, ambitions aimed at enhancing the health and wellness through nutrition. The theme of this year's session, the NSSL, has marked towards health and wellness with personalized nutrition in a challenging era. To me, ladies and gentlemen, it's a timely reminder of the intricate dance between our food, beverage. Since I am representing the Tea Research Institute, I include the food and beverage, and to our overall well-being in the society. Ladies and gentlemen, you will agree with me, in an era marked by rapid changes and challenges, both internally and externally uncontrollable, the importance of personalized nutrition cannot be overstated. It represents a beacon of hope and a tool of empowerment in our collective quest for health and wellness. So let me touch upon just two aspects in relation to health and wellness, just covering the tea industry and the Sri Lankan Tea Research Institute. The Sri Lanka tea industry commenced in about 150 years ago after the devastation of the coffee industry in this country, and continued successfully in terms of the productivity, the quality, the foreign exchange earnings, while benefiting over 10% of the population of this country with direct and indirect employment opportunities, including myself, and managing a vast array of sensitive landscapes in this country in low, mid, and high elevations. The Tea Research Institute of Sri Lanka, second only to the Toklai in India, in the world, with its rich history reaching almost 100 years end of this year, and the commitment to excellence in three important pillars. One is the product, the second is environment, and the third is social welfare of the entire community comprising of the consumers. So the social welfare of the people expanded to be at the forefront in exploring the health benefits of one Sri Lankan's most cherished offerings, that is the Ceylon tea, the best quality tea. Our responsible research, ladies and gentlemen, has continually underscored the role of tea, not just as a beverage among other beverages like coffee and other beverages, but as a crucial component of a healthy lifestyle. You and me start with a cup of tea in the morning and then end up again, you go to the bed again after at least 3 or 4 cups of tea. So the biochemical compounds, namely the polyphenols with properties of antidepressive, neuroactive, cardiovascular and microbial reductions. So those are the few advantages what we showcase. And further, the antioxidants and phytonutrients in tea, inclusive of certain polysaccharides and amino acids, are a testament of nature's incredible capacity to nourish and heal. As we delve deeper into the nutrition science or science of nutrition, we discover that every sip of tea, irrespective of the type, whether it's black tea or green tea, purple tea or oolong tea, carries a potential, proven potential, scientifically validated potential for health, a narrative that resonates with the ethos of this gathering. So I understand in that respect that this event stands as a testament to the power of collaborative effort. I see a large gathering here, starting from the scientists, nutritionists, researchers, students, practitioners, and academics. So it provides to me a magnificent platform to sharing knowledge, discussing innovatives, fostering a community dedicated to the advancement of science, especially in the field of nutrition. So, ladies and gentlemen, your dedicated work, the insights, and discoveries that are crucial in shaping a healthier and more nourished society in this country and overseas. So as we navigate the complexities of modern dietary needs and global health challenges, ladies and gentlemen, to me, let us remember the importance of holistic approaches, especially the personalized nutrition that we have earmarked for today's session. The personalized nutrition is not just about the dietary choices, it's about understanding the unique needs and circumstances of each individual, where it's about creating a symphony of diet, lifestyle, and environment that resonate with the melody of optimal health and also been highlighted in the Sustainable Development Goals. So as we proceed, I am sure you will do it, but I encourage you, every one of you, to engage, question, and collaborate in the 2-day session. And let us use this opportunity to build bridges between the disciplines, including tea. I openly invite the Council to join hand with the Tea Research Institute, because we are looking for new avenues in marketing, as a marketing tool for tea and health. Of course, in another 2 days' time, FAO Intergovernmental Group on Tea will declare another important working group, especially on tea and health. So I'll be participating the session in 2 days' time in India. So surely that will open up another avenue for your society, so your organization, to join hand with the TRI and then work towards a national goal. So in closing, ladies and gentlemen, I wish to express my heartiest gratitude to the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka for organizing and enlightening this event and inviting me to be a part of it. And I look forward to fruitful discussions, innovative ideas, and inspiring stories that will unfold and place in this place over the next 2 days. So thank you once again, ladies and gentlemen, especially for the organizers, and especially for Professor Anand Chandrasekhar for pulling me here from Talavakere to Colombo today. And then let us work together, embark on this journey towards health and wellness with personalized nutrition. I thank you once again. Have a good day and a very productive 2 days session. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Ladies and gentlemen, now it's time for the keynote address of the annual scientific sessions of the NSSL 2024. Let me invite Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, the President of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, to invite the keynote speaker to the audience.
Professor Anoma Chandrasekhara is a professor in food science and nutrition at the Department of Applied Nutrition, Wayamba University of Sri Lanka. She received her BSc Agriculture and MPhil Food and Nutrition from University of Peradeniya and PhD from the Memorial University of Newfoundland, Canada. Having trained in both nutrition and food science, she developed a unique research program for investigating the bioactivities and mode of action of phenolic compound of underutilized tropical food. Working on the interface of food science and the nutrition, she investigated the impact of food components, processing and preparing on nutrition and health. She was ranked among the top 2% scientists in the world for the fourth consecutive year in 2022. I would like to invite Professor Chandrasekhara to the podium.
Very good morning to all of you, chief guest, guest of honor, president. Okay, I will start once again. Very good morning to all of you, ladies and gentlemen. Our chief guest, guest of honor, President of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, council members of Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, and our past presidents, and all of you in this very honorable session, annual session we are having in Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. I'm really proud to be here as one of the past presidents as well, to share some of the insights about nutrition resilience, strategies and innovations in the face of global challenges with you in this lovely morning. We all know life expectancy all over the world is increasing. We can see, comparing to 1950, 2000 and 2050 in the projection, the life expectancy is increasing from in North America from 68 to 84 in 2050, in Europe 62 to 83, in Asia 42 to 79, in Latin America and Caribbean 48 to 80, Africa 37 to 68, and Australia and Oceania 61 to 82. Life expectancy is increasing, but we have to think about whether we are having a healthy life. That is one problem. And in the other side, you can see leading causes of death globally. Again, here you can see what is happening in 2000 and 2019. For some of the diseases, we can see increasing, and for certain diseases, there is a decrease. And number one killer is ischemic heart disease, second, stroke, and we can see diabetes mellitus, kidney diseases, and Alzheimer's disease and other dementia disorders also now in the list. So this is a point where we have to think, although life expectancy is increasing, whether we are having a healthy life. And why we need to think about this? Today we are facing polycrisis in the world. Really, what is this polycrisis? Simultaneously, we are facing different types of crises which will interact together to give some of the synergistic effect, which will give one of the important and deleterious effect to the people. And what type of crises we can see? Climatic changes, natural disasters, economic disruptions, and rising chronic diseases, global pandemics. Very recently we had very deleterious experience about COVID-19 during past years. Then new and protracted civil conflicts. And nowadays we know we have this Ukrainian and Russian war, and then Red Sea conflict. And although they are happening outside everywhere, we can see the effects to all people in the world. And World Health Statistics now already published, and how they will affect the Sustainable Development Goals has been discussed. And if we look at some of these deleterious effects of the crisis, 2023 was reported as the year that recorded the highest temperature, starting from 1940. So we can see the global warming and their impacts. We can see the water levels are rising, and it is not just increasing of the melting of ice, but other weather changes that will affect. It will affect the temperature as well as the raining pattern, and then finally they will affect the yield of our crops. So these are some of the superficial effects we can see, but however, when we go into the depth, we can see how they will affect our people. And when we look at the natural disasters, there are floods, fires, and so all these finally give some of the deleterious effects. And here I am showing some of these problems and conflicts we will see these days. How these polycrises affect us? They will affect on food, health, education, water and sanitation, and social protection systems in the populations in the world. And we have very close experience about the hike in energy and food prices, the rise in cost of living, and all these will affect the achievement of optimum nutrition of vulnerable population groups, like children, pregnant and lactating mothers, elderly, and youth. For all these population groups will suffer in terms of nutritional situations. And the first thing that will feel us is the hunger. When food prices are increasing, when all other comforts we need in the life increasing, the first thing all people feel is the hunger. And global hunger remains too high still, and progress on reducing hunger, but it is stagnating. According to the GHI reports, 2023 global hunger index was 18.3, and it is considered as a moderate value. But the problem is it is stagnating. And we know this stagnation is due to the world pandemic, COVID-19, and wars happening between countries, especially Russia-Ukraine war recently happening, then economic stagnation of the countries, and impacts of climate change and conflicts faced by many countries. And here you can see from 2000 to 2023 how undernourishment has changed. Up to 2015, it has decreased, but after that you can see it is stagnating, and then now it has started to increase. And when we look at the hunger index in different regions, in 2000, 2008, 2015, and 2023, you can see how they have changed in different regions. Africa, south of the Sahara, it has decreased. South Asia decreased, but still we are at serious levels. And when we look at West Asia and North Africa, Latin America and Caribbean, East and South East Asia, Europe and Central Asia, they have become low, but still we haven't achieved pleasant levels of global hunger index. That means still people are suffering from hunger, a certain proportion of the population. And so when we look at this data, we can say the story of hunger is a progress and stagnation timeline. And there are different reasons for this. Inequality and poverty, quality of governance of the countries, demographic conditions, economic downstreams, and climatic changes and conflicts. These are the major reasons for this stagnation. And when in countries people are having this type of hunger levels, who are the people suffering? If, according to the GHI projections, 58 countries will not achieve low hunger by 2030. And even many youths in low and middle income countries are especially vulnerable to food security and nutrition crisis. And these are some of the extractions of youths from African countries, and they are expressing their view about this hunger. Because when they have conflicts, they cannot get access to food. And they have different views about this situation. And some youths express that Russia-Ukraine war will affect the food prices. It depends on the countries. But however, as overall, this affects to the hunger of people. And especially, those vulnerable population get problems with the access to nutritious diets and essential nutrition services, healthcare services, as well as all these care and feeding practices for children get hindered by these problems facing by people. And when we look at the micronutrient deficiencies in women, according to the Micronutrient Forum, about 2/3 of all women of reproductive age are deficient in critical vitamins and minerals like iron, zinc, and vitamin A. Up to 90% of women are affected in South Asia and Sub-Saharan Africa by this situation. And 36% of all pregnant women get affected by anemia. And so in this micronutrient forum, they are proposing multiple micronutrient supplementation is good if we want to address this situation. And in the other story is when NCDs are increasing, but availability and affordability of medications for NCDs is also a problem in countries. So we want to achieve Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. That was the plan. But as I explained to you so far, all these conflicts or polycrisis affects some of these major Sustainable Development Goals. No hunger, good health, quality education, clean water and sanitation. These are the major Sustainable Development Goals that get affected by this polycrisis. In addition to that, the environment, pollution, which we will look at from the protect the planet, life below water, life on land, they are get affected. And we can see, although we want to see the achievement of Sustainable Development Goals, those polycrises will affect this achievement. And we know, according to this UNICEF conceptual model, how shock, stress, and nutritional status get associated. Any type of shocks, drought, floods, seasonal shortages of food, epidemics, population pressure, conflict, climate changes, market disruptions, any of these shocks and stresses caused by these situations influence the environmental systems, and they will influence our food systems. And even it will affect the population displacements. Maybe it is a mass population displacement or a little by little population displacement, but these shocks and stresses affect those conditions. And social services, the access to social services get influenced. Then this will finally affect the trauma and depression for the people. And sometimes this will compromise and overwhelm emergency response recovery system. So this finally decrease access to health services and quality of life, decrease availability of food as well as access to food, and it will affect the child care and self-care, especially women and adolescent girls. So the decreased availability of and access to food, compromised child and self-care of women and adolescent girls finally increase the malnutrition and mortality. It is nutrition resilience that we want to think. How people, communities, and populations counteract these polycrises. So the nutrient resilience is the absorptive, adaptive, and transformation capacities of communities and populations. That is what we have to improve for these groups of people. And by incorporating nutrition resilience, we can make ready communities and populations to face these situations. So we need to think about the resilience pathway and vulnerability pathway, and we need to show the bounce back methodologies and how they can tolerate these situations and come to the normal situation. So by that way, we can improve the optimal nutrition situation and decrease the nutritional vulnerability of populations, and we can maintain nutritional status of these vulnerable groups, and we can compromise the gains in nutritional development. And when I say about the nutritional development, it includes about non-communicable diseases. So what sort of strategies we have to use? We need to think about different strategies where we can shift global situation for better nutrition during these challenges. And one strategy is social changes to healthier lifestyles. So we have to do this with the scientific alignment on the purpose and value of nutrition by all sectors. Giving just advices or giving just guidelines will not address this situation. We need to lead people to achieve these things by considering all the sectors. The other thing is we need to revisit cultural, emotional, and habitual ties towards diet. For an example, we know as Sri Lankans we eat rice and curries. But if that cannot be affordable, we need to think about other ways, how can we get those nutrients. So one option I'm suggesting is one dish meals, which we can provide all the nutrients with all the other components. And the other problem we can see is the consumption of fruits and vegetables is very low because of the high prices. But considering one dish meals, we can give those vegetables they need, and even we can think about underutilized vegetables incorporating into their diets using innovative ways. And so in today's program, you can see there are some of the presentations for that. And the second strategy is the food system resilience, because the hunger is the first thing people will feel, then food system should be strength. And we need to think about the drivers of food production, such as natural resource drivers, innovation technology, and infrastructure drivers, political and economic drivers, socio-cultural and demographic drivers. We need to think about all these forces. Then we need to think about the consumption pattern and our production system, and nutrition-sensitive food systems that we need to think, and sustainable food system. And this will finally give results of a resilient food system. And when we think about the food system resilience, these are some of the important facts. Government, legislation, and policies, these are very important. Institutional roles and functions, we need to identify what are those, and we need to make enabling environment. Then we can get sustainable, resilient food systems, which are nutrition sensitive. And when we targeting resilient food systems, the government mechanisms and crop productivity, and we should not forget about underutilized crops we have, and other underutilized food sources as marine sources. And when we don't have eggs, what is our alternative? So we need to think about what is our alternative for proteins. We need to think about these things. Then crop diversification. The climatic changes affect our weather patterns, our rainy seasons, all these things. So crop diversification can be utilized very effectively to address these things. For an example, rice cannot be grown when we don't have rain. But we can think about crops that we can grow without that much of input of water, like millets. There are different types of millet we can use. And domestic and export competencies. That is also we need to think, because then we don't have enough money for our people when we do not think about the export. Food and livelihood security. And we have experienced that in our country during past 3 years. When we have pandemic situation, the livelihood of many people lost. And we have dietary guidelines. Do we follow it? Do our people know about these food-based dietary guidelines? We need to think about that. And in the other ways, these things are very basic, important things. We need soil management, water management issues, then implementation of guidelines, new foods and crops value addition, then exposed to market and trade, and restoration of ecological balance. When we think about food supply chain, food environment, and consumer behavior, incorporating sustainable diet, we can think about nutrition and health. For food supply chain, we need to think about production, storage, distribution, processing, packaging, retail, marketing. Then for food environment, physical, economic, political, and socio-cultural context, that is very important. Consumers' engagement with the food system to acquire, prepare, and consume food. And consumer behavior is influenced by choices made by consumers at household, individual levels, as well as community levels, depending on what type of foods they have, how they can store them, how they can prepare and eat them. So food system resilience should be focused to give right food for all at the heart of food systems with the transformation. And nutrition education plays a very important role, because then people can improve their capacity to tolerate these changes, and they can make correct food choices with the education. And of course, supportive policies and programs should be there. And how can we use new technologies, new innovations to make our food systems resilient, sustainable, and healthier? And as human beings, we always think about mouthfeel, aroma, taste, appearance, texture, and even sound of food we consume, right? Whether we get bubbling or whether it is evaporation, all these things we consider. So we need to do structural design principles. We have to use them to create plant-based foods that give those important desirable sensory qualities. And some of these technologies we can use very effectively to make our system sustainable and resilient. So e-commerce, now we know it is coming, but we can make it more methodological for delivery of foods as well as online trading platforms. So I hope you can remember during COVID situation, farmers cannot sell their vegetables. And one part of the country did not get enough vegetables, and those producers cannot sell their vegetables. So these online trading platforms will facilitate this type of things, and we can see they are coming, but we need to methodologically do it. And robotics and automation. And when people cannot get access, and when there are problems, so if we have this sort of technologies, then our production will not stop. And therefore, we need to use it. And so in agriculture, we can use indoor farming or this vertical type of farming to grow food crops, so under carefully controlled situations. And then we can think about how environmental effects will not affect the food supply. And alternative protein sources. So these technologies are improving. So cellular agriculture is coming up. But anyway, we need to think about, we have to do research, we need to do ethical considerations and all these things when we are launching this type of technologies. And not only for meat, for other functional food ingredients, we can use this type of technologies. And addressing non-communicable diseases, nutritional and other health issues, it is very important. So in that provision, we can incorporate nutrigenomics and personalized nutrition more in this challenging era. And we can use artificial intelligence, big data, and analytics for healthcare services, as well as for nutrition, as well as in agriculture. As you can see here, using artificial intelligence, we can know how much of energy we get in our diet. So I know some of our researchers are working towards this to form this type of apps to identify, taking photographs, what type of food we eat, as well as what is the energy level and other nutrients we get. And using AI, we can get our yield very successfully, because it can, the level of harvesting can be detected very effectively using AI techniques. And to do all these things, finally I must say, active engagement of wide range of stakeholders from various sectors at different levels is important, because we need to strengthen legislations and policies, programs, and we know this is not one system. It is not only food systems, it is not only health systems. We need to get together all these systems. Therefore, all people, all sectors should work together if we want to achieve this nutrition resilience during this challenging era. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. May I please ask Professor Anoma Chandrasekara to come to the stage again. Now I invite Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, the President of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, to give away the token of appreciation to the keynote speaker. Now let me invite Dr. Dhammika Senanayaka, the President of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, to deliver the presidential address. Over to you, sir.
Chief guest, past presidents, council, life members, ladies and gentlemen. Today, I have selected a little strange topic for a presidential address: hydration strategies for endurance events, transformation and practical insights. When we look at our theme today, it says that towards the health and wellness with personalized nutrition in challenging era. As Sri Lankans, we always actually worry about our health, but very rarely people talks about the wellness. One of the main concepts in wellness is physical fitness. So we don't have a culture related to the physical fitness. That is one reason where we end up with non-communicable disease. The last week, actually, I was observing one of the major marathon in the world, the Hong Kong Marathon, where the Hong Kong City Marathon, the total participant was more than 75,000. So the whole city focused on the physical fitness through the marathon, through the endurance event. So I am just pointing out how we can give hydration and to keep the people rolling with physical fitness. So we need to think about in future about the wellness and the physical fitness. I think this lecture will give you some idea why we need physical fitness. Right. This is my content. I would like to introduce the endurance events, especially in the athletics, because most of the Sri Lankans are not that aware, and the history of hydration strategies, hydration-related issues, thirst, drinking, physiological response in fluid electrolyte balance, rehydration options, nutritional goals in endurance events, current hydration practices, recommendation for endurance events, fueling and hydration during marathon. The human actually like for these three terms: faster, higher, and stronger. These simple descriptions have been of interest to humans since the beginning of our recorded history. Here you can see one of the fastest person in the world, Usain Bolt, and you can see a fastest runners are running in the London Marathon. So all these people are so stronger, faster, and they are higher or the superior than the other humans. What is endurance activity? We all aware what is endurance activity, but simply endurance activities are prolonged physical activities where aerobic respiration is the main energy supply. To be a good endurance person for athletes, you need three of these factors: maximal oxygen consumption, that is VO2 max. You must have a good lactate threshold, running or walking efficiency. These terms are little complicated. I am not going into details, but we all need these three factors to remain in a good, fitter person. If I explain what are the main distance events or the endurance events which are actually controlled or keep under the World Athletics Organization, starting from 10,000 meter track race. This is on the track, that is in the ground. Then we can see races starting in the road or the other surface, like 12,000 meter cross country, half a marathon, 20 kilometer race walk or 50 kilometer race walk, and the marathon, that is 42 kilometer 2 point the marathon, or the ultra marathon, where even the athletes run nearly 100 kilometers per day. This is actually unbelievable to us, but there are people who run 100 kilometers. In my talk, I always actually refer a marathon. The reason marathon is one of the most popular event in the endurance event for last 10 years. If you look at the total distance of a marathon is 42 kilometers, 195 meters. Or in miles, it's 26 miles and 385 yards. This is a road race where they use the flat surfaces. And normally more than 800 marathons are held throughout the world each year, that is under the controlling of World Athletic Organization. The majority of the competitions are being recreational athletes, as larger marathons can have thousands of participants. And during the last 5 years, even though we had a COVID pandemic in the world, the marathon records were actually advancing rapidly. The best person in this earth, the world champion, runs 42 kilometers, 195 meters in 2 hours and 35 seconds. The women's record is 2 hours, 11 minutes and 53 seconds. And if you look at this timing, the Sri Lankan men's record is even below the world women's record. And here I am showing source actually the data from World Athletics to see how much the participant for the major marathons in the world. Right, if you look at the translation of hydration practices during the marathon was one of the events which has more than 125-year history. In early 90s, the competitors ran the whole distance without drinking fluid. So that's due to various concepts. They had the misconceptions of drinking water or the fluid causing the more weight in the body, causing disturbance for the performers. That is the reason they ran marathons and without fluid, and sometimes they had died before completing the marathon. In 1950s, the researchers started a lot of activities, and they proved the proper hydration is improving the performance. So after that, slowly, the runners used to take drinks before the marathon or during the marathon. Later, the various rehydration strategies developed with the introduction of electrolytes and the sports drink to the field. So that causes a variety of strategies of using the sports drinks. Here I am referring one of the good papers written by the Professor Armstrong. He is the person who did a lot of research related to the sports and hydration and even the nutrition. His review bring a lot of things to the world during last 2 years. The two major issues arise due to a fluid and electrolyte disturbance in endurance events are the dehydration and overhydration. In minor level, both not affecting the performance or do not create any illnesses. But in moderate to severe level, both affect the performance of athlete or the recreational athlete and create heat illnesses or the hyponatremia. Then if we look at the little more on the physiology, during sedentary activities of a normal person, our central nervous system is the response for the hydration. So it maintains the hydration. But if a person starts exercising, from 5 minutes to up to 30 minutes, water and electrolyte losses are minimal. So they can compensate during the activity. But if the exercise or the activity go beyond the 30 minutes up to 5 hours, the moderate to the large turnover due to the sweating and drinking causes problems. So that is the reason athletes need to think about this hydration. Athletes are unable to fulfill the fluid and electrolyte due to a duration, intensity and environment factors. The marathon normally at the best timing is 2 hours. Onward, the recreational athlete might go up to 4.5, even up to 5 hours. So this duration can cause disturbance for the fluid intake. So athlete needs special hydration plans to maintain performance during the event. Elite as well as the recreational athlete needs a proper hydration plans. So the Professor Armstrong and his team actually talk about the rehydration options for the endurance activity. These are the 5 types. Drink when thirsty. When athlete feel thirsty, they can drink. Or the ad libitum drinking, where some of the scientists say both terms are similar. Here athletes actually drink according to the thirst, but if we get a chance of drinking more than the thirst, they drink little more. Number 3 is the individualized plan in drinking. This is where the nutritionist, dietitian and the scientists involved. They calculate the loss of sweat per hour, and based of this loss, they calculate the fluid intake, and then they plan how much they take the liquids or the water and the timing. And the number 4 is purposefully drinking nothing, as I mentioned you earlier. And the 5th one is purposefully drinking as much as possible, not for thirst. The 4th and 5th are not actually accepted by none of the professional organizations in the world. because fourth and fifth are not with the sciences. And here if you look at the major, actually the concept, drink to thirst, you can see what are the factors can cause thirst of a human or the athlete, and how we can control the drinking behavior. Here actually oropharyngeal sensation and the mouth dryness is the main one which can cause the thirst in an athlete. And then the cellular dehydration, decrease blood volume and the pressure, or increase plasma osmolality. These are the factors which create the thirst in endurance events. So the drinking behavior depends on the perceptions that reinforce the thirst, especially the previous rehydration experience, belief and advice from others, fluid palatability, or the fatigue which caused during the competition. Finally, the body water and the volume of the concentration of the ions are maintained in this concept. Then I would like to mention what are the nutritional goals. Even though I am talking you about the hydration, even the glucose intake also very important for the endurance events. These three are the major nutritional goal for the endurance activity. We need to reduce the fatigue and to maintain the suboptimal energy output during, especially towards the end of the event. Second one, we need to give the muscles continuous glycogen and the glucose, and we need to give the liver to the glucose and glucose to the brain. And meantime, athletes need to maintain a fluid intake according to the sweat loss and to maintain the plasma volume and the proper cardiac output. Now, I would like to bring some data related to the London Marathon, where more than 80% runners are recreational and few percentage of elite athletes are participating. And there are good studies related to the London Marathon. It says that every athlete have a hydration plan. They have calculated 93% of athletes had hydration plan in 2010, and it slightly increased in 2014. And the major concept in the hydration for the endurance events is the drinking according to the thirst, as I mentioned you. That was about 25% in 2010, but it's increased up to 48% in 2014. So that means the knowledge had transferred into the athletes. And over drinking, which can create the exercise associated hyponatremia, was about 12% in 2010, and it has gone down to 5.8% in 2014. And most of the athletes actually didn't have a proper idea what is meant by the hyponatremia. Even that can create a lot of complication during the run. Only 40% athletes had the idea even in 2014. And if we look at the elite level means the world championship where only champion runners are participating, and these are actually some data from 2015 and 2019. So even elite had a good plan for the hydration for the day of the event. It's 80% in 2015 and increased up to 93 in 2019 World Championship. And if you look at what are the things they use, water was used in 63% in 2015 and it increased to 85% in 2019. So electrolyte use also increased, and the carbohydrate contents in the liquids was increased. Right, so I would like to just explain one of the toughest marathon we had it in the world is what is they call the 2019 World Championship Marathon. Because of the higher temperature in Doha, they have scheduled this event on midnight. And even with the midnight, nearly 25% of elite athletes stopped during the racing. So that was one of the toughest marathon we had it in the history. And if you look at the drinking strategies in elite level, this study was done during the World Championship in 2019. So if you look at, as I mentioned you earlier, the water, about 80% athletes were preparing to take water or the electrolyte or the carbohydrate drinking. And during actually the World Athletic Championship, not only the marathon, the 20 and 50 kilometer race walking also they conduct. And if you look at actually the marathon here, even 7% of the elite marathoners were planned to run the marathon without drinking anything. So that is due to most of the elite runners are coming from East African countries. So they even run whole distance, 42 kilometers, without drinking. So that because their VO2 max is very high, and they can maintain that VO2 max in a suboptimal level more than 2 hours. So that is the reason they are not actually drinking. And Professor Armstrong has team bringing you some recommendation where even the nutritionist or the dietitian can use when you are advising for the endurance athlete. Very important one, which is not practicing even in Sri Lanka. You can advise the athlete to measure body weights before and after the event. So that is very important to calculate the fluid loss. And you can advise the athletes not to gain weight during the exercise. So that means to stop the too much drinking. And advise athletes to take less than 700 ml of fluid within an hour to reduce the exercise-associated hyponatremia. And meantime, when the athlete is drinking, they get some perceptual clues about the discouraging, like they feel nauseating, they feel vomitish feeling, then they need to stop the drinking, otherwise they'll get problems with, and they'll stop the running. And meantime, every athlete, maybe a recreational, maybe elite, we will lose to the body mass certain extent during the endurance event. So that is normal. But if athletes is actually losing more than 2% of the body mass during the training, they need to get medical advices. So they need good hydration plan. In case of more than 4% weight loss after the event, they need to seek medical advices. And other thing, you may not that familiar with this salt deposition. After an endurance event, sometimes some athletes experience salt deposits in the jerseys. So if they notice this salt deposit in a jersey, that is an indication of high sweat loss and high sodium concentration. They need to do something, they need to think about the proper rehydration. And after the event, some athletes, especially the athletes coming from Europe, think the normal food will compensate their sodium loss. That is not, they need additional sodium intake. And the final message, so everything they can actually experience, you can do the experiment during the practice, not during the races. I'll quickly run through the fueling and hydration during the marathon. Even though the marathon race go beyond 2 hours, the pre-race hydration and the fueling also important. So before the race, every athlete need to do a carbohydrate loading, or they can take a high carbohydrate diet. And this diet should be a familiar diet to the athlete. And that diet should have less fiber, fat, and the protein. Otherwise, it can create a lot of GI upsets. Pre-race hydration concept is very simple. This is actually brought by the American College of Sports Medicine. What they say is, drink about 500 ml water 4 hours before the race and see urine output or the color of the urine. And if there's no urine or they have that dark urine, they can drink again about 500 ml water or the electrolyte before 2 hours. In race hydration, again important. Actually, you may have seen how athletes are taking the drinks or the food during the marathon, and the aim of the fluid intake is to maintain the body mass loss less than at least 3%. And individualized hydration protocols based on the fluid losses are more preferred. And they need to maintain the intake less than 700 ml per hour. The sodium intake is about, they can take 20 to 30 milliequivalent per liter, and the potassium 2 to 5 milliequivalent per liter. Earlier, actually, the scientists and all the people were advising to take carbohydrate about 80 gram per liter during the race. But now the newer research bringing the higher level of carbohydrate usage even can give more performance advantages. And if I tell you about some practical options, and the athletes and the scientists, even the nutritionists, think what are the best options during the in-race. The water, electrolyte drinks, sports drinks, and sports gels are available. All these commercialized products give you the good nutrition facts. So according to the nutrition fact, they can decide what is the thing the athlete can use. And here I am showing how the water points or the water station or the hydration stations. In one picture here you can see it's during the World Championship where only the elite runners are participating. Actually, to get easily the drinks, the athletes actually, they have actually keep the drinks according to the flags in the country. So then they can easily reach their position and take the drinks. In other one, you can see they keep the water bottles, or sometimes they keep electrolyte drinks. And the problem, if they get higher temperature, if suddenly the weather changes, this is very important. And if a temperature suddenly increases during an event, they need to increase the fluid intake to reduce the thermal stress. So that is a good thing they need to keep in mind. And they need to take more carbohydrate intake. And they need to avoid the overhydration to minimize the exercise-induced hyponatremia. Another thing, the performance and the health challenges associated with race in the hot weather, we need to address the acclimatization of athletes and the proper pacing, or that means the speed which they maintain, and the pre-cooling or the cooling during the races. So this needs a lot of experience by the athlete. Fluid replacement, this is again advised by the American College of Sports Medicine. It's important, as I told you, it's a similar thing. Then again the important thing, fluid replacement after the event. If athletes completed the events in a normal manner, the normal meals and the snack with sufficient volume of plain water and electrolyte is enough. First hour is very important. They need to take more and more electrolytes of the water, and they need to check the body weight, and if the percentage is, the loss is more, they need to seek medical advice. Finally, what is the best one? Drink to thirst or personalized hydration. Still none of the studies show whether the drink to thirst is the best one or the personalized hydration. And none of the studies show the performance benefit of the drink to thirst or the personalized nutrition. So this is the further study we needed this area. And other thing, most of the time the coach is the one actually influence the athlete, not the dietitian, not the nutritionist, or not the scientist. Still, coach pressurize the athlete. So we need to talk to the coach, and we need to give the recommendation through the coaches. Right, take home messages. Hydration is very important factor during a marathon or any of the endurance events. Hydration should be connected to the electrolyte and carbohydrate intake. All athletes, elite or the recreational, must prepare a good hydration plan before the marathon. If temperature high, extra precautions should be added, like pre-race and in-race cooling methods. All recreation and elite need proper consultation of a nutritionist, a doctor or scientist before the race. And do not try new during the races. So thank you very much for listening to me. Even though marathons and highly endurance events are not familiar to us, we need to bring these into our stage, our society, to keep our more physically fit population in the future. And in Sri Lanka, the similar events are going on, and that is our big matches. If you look at our big matches, 22 players are playing, nearly 25,000 or 20,000 are sitting or dancing and just looking at and wasting money. So we need to change our culture. We need to bring physical activity to keep the society going on with the wellness concept. So thank you.
Thank you, sir, for enlightening the audience with an interesting topic. To mark the closure of the inauguration ceremony, I invite Dr. Thamilini Joseph Kumar, Joint Secretary of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, to deliver the vote of thanks.
Very good morning to all. On behalf of the Nutrition Society Council, I'm glad to be standing here to express my vote of thanks in this event. Let me start off by extending our heartfelt gratitude to our chief guest, Dr. Kirti Mohanty, Director, Research, Tea Research Institute, who honored this function with his inspirational thoughts. I would also like to thank our keynote speaker, Professor Anoma Chandrasekhara, Senior Professor, Department of Applied Nutrition, Faculty of Livestock Fisheries and Nutrition, Wimber University of Sri Lanka. Dear Madam, your valuable insights helped us to ignite the momentum and highlighted our role during this unprecedented time as a professional network. We have outstanding events in line for you for 2 days, and the event is enriched by invited presentations of the eminent scientists from different institutions from different parts of the country. My sincere appreciation and gratitude go to all symposium speakers, judges, abstract reviewers, award application evaluators, awardees, all presenters, and all who contributed in numerous ways to make this scientific session a monumental success. We, as the Council of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka, sincerely acknowledge the generous provision of the sponsors. Without their support, this event would have not been a reality. Thank you so much for your collaboration in identifying your social responsibility and partnering with us in this important endeavor. I express my sincere thanks to the hosting team, visual coverage, and comparing teams for making this function a successful one. It has been a real pleasure to work with this very fine and capable group of people. My sincere thanks to all delegates, including other distinguished guests and the participants, members of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. Last but not least, I must mention the support provided by the council members of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka. Thank you, team. Without our collective effort, this achievement would be a nightmare. While begging your pardon for any omission or any inconvenience, I wish you all a happy, healthy, and prosperous New Year, in which we will be able to better march towards our mission. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam. This concludes the inauguration ceremony of annual scientific sessions of the Nutrition Society of Sri Lanka 2024. The scientific program is scheduled to start at 10:15 a.m. We are now breaking for a refreshment. Nutrition Society wishes to invite you all to enjoy the refreshments and also networking.